This video is sponsored by Deep Cut Studios. For a wide range of fantastic gaming resources such as battle mats, dice trays and pre-painted bases, check out the description below. Hi guys, and welcome back to our Malifaux Masters Breakdown, where we showcase the factions and personalities vying for soul stones and dominance within the Broken City. In today's episode, the Doctor will see you now, as this week we will poke and prod into Douglas McMourning and the experimental keyword. The experimental keyword are the brainchild of the ex-guild, now resurrectionist outlaw Douglas McMourning. These Frankensteinian creatures are all rather resilient to damage, with most of the crew having the hard to wound trait in combination with the keyword's signature ability, perverse metabolism. This trait allows models to heal any damage that they would take from poison instead of suffering it. Handily, the crew also possesses many ways to apply the poison condition to both friends and foes, meaning that played correctly, the keyword are tough to put down while making their opponents weaker and weaker as the game progresses. Leading the crew is Dr. Douglas McMourning, a questionably sane pathologist who no amount of apples will keep away. McMourning is rightly feared as something of a close combat monster with his stat 7 skull saw, which applies injured +2 with each swing, along with its monster damage track and either critical strike or the built-in infect trigger to start building up the poison condition. As if that wasn't enough, McMourning knows enough about anatomy to ignore pesky traits such as armor, hard to wound, hard to kill or shielded, meaning your opponent has very little defensive tech to hide behind when under the surgeon's knife. In addition, the field testing ability means all friendly models that benefit from being poisoned will start the game on a respectable poison +2. His rancid transplant ability can inflict even more injured, poison and other conditions, truly making a target of any model he can't personally put down. He's so dedicated to damage that he can even harm enemies with his bonus action, blood poisoning, which inflicts damage equal to a model's poison condition. Don't forget that this can target friendly models, and thanks to perverse metabolism it can actually heal them instead. While not the main use of his actions, Douglas is also an incidental summoner, able to stitch together the corpses of his victims to construct some truly terrible specimens that your opponent must deal with. Finally, although only a 1-inch melee range on his main attack may seem quite short, his mobility is amped up by the Doctor's Orders action, allowing him or another friendly model to move up to 4 inches for the cheap cost of discarding a card. Limping along after Douglas is his faithful companion totem, the Zombie Chihuahua, that's the thing. While this diminutive doggo certainly won't be collecting a pile of skulls, it does have some uses. Principally, this is by dishing out poison and through the use of blood poisoning, which is just like McMourning and can be used defensively to heal a friendly model and keep it at just the right side of dead for a little longer. Every mad scientist needs a literal henchman, and this Igor is named Sebastian. Another stat 7 attack with infect or crit strike means corpses will soon start piling up. And if McMourning doesn't resurrect these into flesh constructs, Sebastian can instead convert them into the surprisingly irritating canine remains, turning the enemy dead against them. Next up, the shared forgotten rogue necromancy is the first example of Douglas's crazy creations with terrifying hard to wound and hard to kill. Your opponent will have to put a lot of effort to bring this thing down. It's no slouch in offense either, with a min 3 attack with a positive to attack and the potential for multiple attacks, a lot of use of the word attacks, through pouncing strike or infect for yet even more of that juicy poison condition. The Wrathkin fleshes out our enforcer choices for now, and with every action having the potential to dish out the poison condition, it can't be said that this lab assistant isn't walking in his master's footsteps. Additionally, we see the Catalyst ability, which causes even more incidental damage to the multiple enemy models who will hopefully be suffering poison. Over to minions, and the experimental keyword has plenty of options, with perhaps the most ubiquitous being the nurse, so much so that they're often seen out of keyword in other crews for, filthy tryhards. These manipulative matrons are great support models who are able to heal friendly models while handing out the focus condition or moving them into more useful positions. Their ability to end the focus condition on enemy models with their seduction ability enhances the crew's survivability, as opponents will find it all that much harder to break through and pass those hard to wound traits. Centauri, the half horse, half human corpse things are definitely in keeping with the tinkering that the Resurrectionists are famed for. With Move 6, a 2-inch melee that can be speedy as hell on the threat, especially with the combination of Ride With Me that allows them to bring another friendly model along to help in the fight. The boss man McMourning himself is often a great target for this action, allowing him to get stuck into melee ASAP. Once they charge into combat, their stampede ability and filthy spear means that they can cause a lot of damage very, very quickly, and their opponent is discouraged from hitting back because of their bloated stench trait, which ensures enemies take poison +1 each time they're damaged. Next up, flesh constructs might appear significantly weaker than the horse dudes, but with movement 5 and the ability to gain fast with their bonus action, they can catch an unsuspecting enemy off guard. These behemoths are great body blockers for scenarios, and with the keywords resilience combined with the swallow you hold trigger, they're a nightmare to actually remove from play. Further down the list, the experimental keyword also has some cheaper if less hardy options, starting with the little gassers. These stinky little scheme runners are cheap enough to cause a distraction while your main crew does the heavy lifting. Bloated stench and horrific odour should also put off enemy models from wanting to waste AP to get too close, lest they fall prey to yet even more poison. Canine remains are even more cheaper, and while they only have 3 health, hard to wound may allow them to survive surprisingly long. The carrying away action allows them to herd corpse markers where your crew can make the best use of them, and once they finally expire they feed even more corpses into the grinder, perhaps to be summoned again by Sebastian or reforged into flesh constructs by McMourning. Our final minion is the Guild Autopsy, a reminder of McMourning's past misdeeds with the Guild's ex-employees. The by now familiar combination of bloated stench, hard to wound, and perverse metabolism makes killing these models an uphill battle, and these models bring an interesting option of inflicting range damage through their small gauge revolver action, in a glorious parody of the lawmen these models once were. The experimental keyword can certainly be fun and be powerful on the tabletop, even though they aren't by any means without weakness. A particular highlight is that they are resilient to damage, with most models having hard to wound, healing every turn with perverse metabolism. Their damage potential is extremely high, with min 3 damage on multiple attacks combined with the additional damage from poison at the end of each turn. On top of that, they're a great keyword crew with amazing synergy between models, with the ability to hand out poison to friend or foe, healing each other with effects like blood poisoning and various other means. On top of that, obviously they're pretty immune to the poison condition, meaning if you have any mirror matchups it's going to be a hell of a fight. And finally, they're just really fun. They're not reliant on versatile or out of keyword models, and who doesn't love to play as a crazed doctor riding into battle on the back of an undead centaur? However, if you find yourself on the wrong side of the doctor's orders, there are some things to take into consider. Firstly is the statistically low defense typical of the Resurrectionists, which makes them easier to hit and therefore easier to apply triggers to. The minions themselves are very, very expensive, usually 7 to 8 points, and they are quite often weak to dedicated melee or models with the lack of focus, armor, and the ability to stop any kind of damage other than hard to wound. Building on this, the experimental keyword are not keen on range crews who focus on pinning people down from a distance, because they suffer significant damage on their way to getting into the combat that they so want to be in. Finally, as you'd expect, the crew are particularly weak against anyone who's able to strip away those poison conditions for their own benefit, or just taking away the incidental healing that keeps them alive. Finally, if you'd like to take McMourning and his patients out for a spin, then why not try the following example list, which gives you plenty of speed, resilience, and bloodshed for your opening games. Once you've got a few under your belt and you're ready to expand your collection, then why not swap out Sebastian for a corpse curator, who we'll talk about soon, and one of the little gases for a nurse to unleash the potential of the experimental keyword and spread poison everywhere. So that brings us to the end of this Malifaux Master breakdown. We hope it's been useful in giving you a snapshot of the crew and its mechanics. For more talk about Malifaux and its masters, why not check out our podcast, The Malifaux Show, where we break down each keyword and why you should play it. Alternatively, we have a wealth of beginner-friendly battle reports here on the channel that guide players through every flippin' decision. Whichever you choose, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, folks. Hi guys, and thank you so much for watching our videos. It means the world to us. If you want to see some more, they should be over here. If you want to support this channel, keep these lights on. You can find links to our Patreon and merchandise in the description below. Take care.